What is good? What is great? It's me, Destiny Brandt, founder of It's Destiny Sales Recruiting, and hopefully you're a recruiter. I wanted to make a little video today about how I got into agency recruiting, the job that absolutely changed my life and the position that I will have for the rest of my career. I started my career in clinical healthcare, and then I got more onto the administrative side, essentially being the in-between person between patients, insurance orgs and attorneys and doctors. And so I learned a lot about how to communicate at a high level with people with very sensitive subjects, especially as money was involved. I learned to bring multiple solutions to every problem. I really was paying attention to my cadence, the energy, and the type of environment that I created to really get the type of information that I needed to move the needle or the claims for my patients. I wanted to get more into an official HR job, and it was actually my dream to work for the state of Washington as an HR rep, as my little sister does. It wasn't until one of my close friends, roommate at the time, was like, "You need to meet with this recruiter. Her name is Cheryl. She's been doing this for about 30 years. She's going to change your life." So I wouldn't have been introduced to the person who essentially got me into this game if it wasn't for absolute coincidence and for me wanting to engage in a career that, honestly, looking back, would have never served me given my skills at relationship building, sales, and operations. That being said, when the recruiter Cheryl reached out to me, a third party recruiter, typically we keep our accounts very close. So she had said, "Hey, I have one, maybe two opportunities for you." I had never worked with an agency recruiter at the time. So I was like, "Okay, and what is the job? What is the title? What is the pay?" And she essentially told me, "Come and meet. And when I vet you, then we will determine the types of jobs that make sense for you based on what we learn about each other." I looked at the calendar invite and she wanted me to go to Bothell. Now, I am in the middle of Seattle, so that was a big ask, right? I'm going to meet someone that I've never met who is promising me jobs that I have no idea what the actual job is. I'm working 40 to 50 hours a week as a salaried employee, but because I really trusted my friend's referral, I put myself in a position to be pleasantly surprised. I drove all the way to Bothell in my Fiat and I met Cheryl and my life changed. When I had met her, she immediately starts pitching me some a little bit about her, how she essentially partners with employer clients who either have too many people applying or not enough people applying. And at the end of the day, they needed her to be a walking, talking billboard to really vet and find people who are going to align with what the founders or executives were wanting. She had pitched me one HR assistant job. She had pitched me one kind of more HR manager job. And then I had said to her, "Hey, I noticed that on your website you talk about sales. I've always been told that I could sell anything, but I never really entertained that as a career. Is that something that you can talk to me about?" And she was like, "Girl, you're interested in sales? Yeah, 100%. Let's talk more about that." And then she talked a little bit about what her role was, partnering with businesses to fill jobs and then working directly with candidates to find positions that hit both their goals and their boundaries as it relates to their career. She said, "Do not get it twisted. This is a sales position in the sense that you were doing outbound B2B sales to startups, to billion-dollar orgs. And then it's a sales position in the sense that you're having to meet candidates where they're at, influence when necessary, challenge when necessary." And she made it very clear that this was probably going to be one of the hardest jobs that I would ever have. And she was 100% right. I ended up she ended up immediately introducing me to her founder, Sam, who she had worked with for a very long time. That really taught me the importance of just picking up the phone, talking directly with an employer client, and making it happen for your candidate. So she called him, she pitched me right there on the phone. He immediately added me on LinkedIn. At that point, I think I had like 20 LinkedIn followers. I had literally just created it. He asked me to come and meet him in his downtown office, and the rest is history. I knew from the moment I started talking to some of my peers, my mentors, the people who really helped me acclimate into the sales and full desk recruiting position, that this is what I was going to be this is what I wanted to do forever. I literally can get emotional now talking about the absolute high of realizing that these were people, other salespeople, my deliverables, my talent, my candidates. These were people who were on a very similar journey as I was. So if I was just curious, really asked them about their sales process, how they learn, what types of coaches they work for, what kind of tools they use, that by extension of just doing my job, that I was going to be a better salesperson. About a year and a half, 2 years actually, COVID hit. That's when I started thinking a little bit about what my impact as a recruiter, specifically in SaaS and tech, what I wanted it to be. I did learn very early on, specifically working with Syndio Solutions, a pay transparency tool, that me as a third party recruiter, I am a huge part of this revolving door, which is getting companies to giving them the exact type of candidate that they want, right? People straight out of University of Washington with their sales certificate program, and you could get incredibly good and make so much money just giving the same types of profile to your clients over and over. That's when I realized that I really wanted to bridge the gap in customer education, whether as that was for my B2B companies, but mostly for my candidates on kind of the game that we were playing. Just being able to, instead of expecting every candidate to be perfect, really showing them or inviting them into my sales and recruiting process of what I've seen work and not work for my employer clients, helping my candidates get an edge. And when I was just thinking about the impact that I wanted to make, the type of energy and resources that I was ultimately going to have to develop, and how that would essentially take me away from my pipeline and my current job, I decided to essentially walk away from my book of business, all of my billing, and start over in March of 2020. It was a huge mission of mine to partner with people who knew better than me. I did have a great opportunity to learn from people who had 4, 5, 6 years tenure in agency recruiting, but I wanted to really be able to pick the brains and understand what some tenured recruiters or recruiting sales professionals were kind of doing in the space. I had gotten really lucky as I was doing B2B sales at my past agency, where a lot of staffing agencies, some of the biggest, largest, and small boutiques doing $33 million a year in Seattle and beyond, were reaching out to me because I looked like an amazing poster child for staffing sales, because I absolutely loved it. And I would talk about that a lot in my social selling. So in the transition of leaving my old agency and starting It's Destiny Recruiting, I was placing, or not necessarily in the transition, but before I left my old agency, I was placing a lot of tenured staffing people. So people who had been in the game for forever, people who had made it through multiple recessions. And I actually ended up hiring a few of them in the beginning, or both as a consultant and a W-2 full cycle recruiter, that helped me build out a lot of my processes, questions that we asked, talent science, how we debrief candidates to defend mishire metrics or offers not being accepted. So a huge function of our business is development, really understanding, okay, this is what our companies need, these are what our candidates need, and creating those happy partnerships through just actually having a process versus just being a resume factory, or just sending people who look and sound and do kind of the exact same thing. So a lot of our foundation is built on training. And, while it's just me, Destiny, who's doing a majority of the recruiting, sales, and account management, essentially when you work with us as a partner, you are getting the access to staffing professionals, recruiters who are doing this 20 plus years. And several of them are literally still our partners to this day, because I started my background in admin, operations, compliance. I have a huge passion, literally passion, for efficiency, whether that's building out SharePoints, building out trainings, working directly with founders who want to optimize their recruiting or sales process, or working as an additional kind of resource as a talent or in recruiting operations advisor. So if you are a startup looking for someone who is going to really care about the sales profile around making sure that we find candidates who are not only the best fit, ideally coming from your competitors, a very similar type of buyer, similar stage of company, but someone who is going to, without a doubt, make sure that your candidate has an amazing experience, because our relationship with candidates go far beyond these one-off jobs, and someone who can help bridge any sort of gaps as you build and scale your recruiting function. There's nothing that we could not do. Other lore that's kind of tied to our brand is we had gotten to a point very early on in our recruiting business that we hired W-2 full-time recruiters. I really wanted to honor my mission and hire people with not as much experience or any experience in sales and recruiting. A lot of people came from retail type of jobs, and we had a team of up to 19 full desk recruiters at a point. So when it came to building go-to-market strategy, building tools, testing tools, enabling tools, negotiating tools, building out scripts, receipts, frameworks, so there was a rhyme or reason to what we're doing. That is something that I've done personally as a founder as well. I made a lot of first-time mistakes managing for the first time, and those are all experiences and insights that I'm able to give for free as just a part of our contingent only recruiting model to founders who are asking and kind of managing up on what it's going to take to attract, retain, and grow recruiters or top salespeople. We obviously learn a lot more from failure than we ever could success. So as someone who's been there, done that, I am excited to connect with founders and candidates alike. Other things that kind of are a part of our legacy and our brand history is we've had a lot of our first founding recruiters go on to be founding heads of talent or head recruiters at companies like Orem and Wiz, et cetera, et cetera. And to this day, those recruiters are known for being some of the best recruiters clocked by their own executives and founders that they have ever worked with. So our legacy and our impact goes beyond where I started, how It's Destiny Recruiting ultimately ended up started, but how our org continues to impact the go-to-market community as a whole by our legacy hires. I'm really, really excited to meet you where you're at. All of my kind of consulting insights when a contingency contract is signed is free. So I really expect a lot of my founders and candidates alike to manage up, ask me questions as it makes sense, ask me if there's an opportunity for us to work together beyond good old-fashioned recruiting. But really my main passion, what I love to do, is recruiting, which I think is kind of unique for a lot of founders who eventually do want to hire and get other people involved in deals. I am someone who not only enjoys but feels confident interviewing at a high volume, 10 to 20 people sometimes in a day or 2 days window. So if you want someone who's high volume, intentional, can build those frameworks and really understands the SaaS, go-to-market, and sales space, holler at your girl. I hope we can make money. In the meantime, don't forget to drink your water. Cheers to you. You're doing great.